Conquerors, and welcome to lesson 1-7, comparing whole numbers and decimal numbers. Now in our previous lessons we have learned how to compare whole numbers, but we're going to review that for just a minute. And remember, if we wanted to compare 76,100, 65,000, and 67,100, we could either make a number line or we could line the digits up and then compare them from left to right. So let's do that right now. So we have 7, 6, 6. So we want to order these from greatest to least. So we can see that our greatest number is 76,100. Now this one, I like to mark mine out so that I don't get confused. I'm finished with this one. These both have 6 in the 10,000s place. So now I have a 5 and a 7 in the thousands place. And we know that 7 is larger. So 67,100. And then that would leave 65,000 as the least. Now I have a set of decimal numbers that I would like to order. We have also done this, and so we're just going to review that. And I have 9 and 375 thousandths, 8 and 950 thousandths, 9 and 275 thousandths. So remember, I'm going to compare from left to right. So I have a 9, 8, and a 9. So I need to compare the numbers that begin with 9 first, because I'm going from greatest to least, and I know that 9s are the same, and then my 8 is going to be smaller. So now I'm looking at the 2 and the 3. So I'm just ignoring this number for just a few minutes. And I can see that the 3 is larger. So I know that 9 and 375 thousandths is going to be my greatest. Then 9 and 275 thousandths. And then my last one would be 8 and 950 thousandths. So I have ordered these from greatest to least. So now on the board I have 4 numbers, and it is a mixture of whole numbers and decimal numbers. So what I need to do now is to line these numbers up according to place value and then compare them from left to right. Now remember, we talked in a previous lesson that we can annex zeros so that everything is lined up and nice, okay? So let's look. We're going to start with 22.7. And then under that, I'm going to add 23 and 84 hundredths. So I know I have 2, 3. The decimals are going to line up. I'm going to put my 8 and my 4. Now, I already do not like how that looks, so I'm going to go ahead and put a 0. I can annex a 0. So I have this one and this one. Now I'm going to put in my 22. Now, we do not write decimals behind our numbers. When I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't put decimals behind them. But it is understood that there is a decimal here. So I can annex in a 0 in the tenths place and in the hundredths place. And then my last number is 23 and 9 tenths, and I can annex in a 0. Now I want to put these in order from greatest to least. So we're going from greatest to least. And remember, we're going to start comparing on the left. So they all have 2s. So now I'm going to the 1s. I have 2 of them that have 2s, and I have 2 of them that have a 3. So I'm going to put a little star by the ones that have 3s, because I know that 3s are larger than 2s. And I'm just going to look at these 2 numbers for a minute. Because why again? Because they have a 3 sitting here. And 3 is larger than these 2's. You could get you some colored pencils, circle them, keep them separated if you need to. So, now this one has a 3. Now I'm going to the tens place. I have a 9. I'm going to put a square around it and an 8. So I'm looking at these two numbers, and I have an 8 and a 9. Well, 9 is larger, so I'm going to put 23.90. You can mark it out so you know you're done with it. It's a little hard to erase it if it's in your book, but I'm going to actually erase it where it's not there. This one goes next, 23.84, and you can mark it out, or I'm going to erase it so that I can see a little bit better. Now I'm comparing these two, and I'm going to the 7 and the 0. And so I'm going to have 22, and then I'm going to have just my plain 22. Now remember, I annexed these zeros. I don't have to write them over here. I can actually take my zeros that I annexed off if I'd like to. And that is also a correct answer. Okay, I have some more problems on the board now. And this says miles traveled. So I've traveled 567 miles, then 643, then 590, then 645. And I want to put these in order from least to greatest. Well, we're changing it now. Always read your instructions. I want to go from least to greatest. So I want the smallest number. The first thing I'm going to do is line them up so that I can compare them. And I'm going to start in the hundreds place. And I see that 2 of them have a 6, and we know that 6 is larger than 5. Now be careful, because this time I want least. So I'm actually looking at the 5s. So 5, and then I have to compare my 6 and my 9. So 6 is the least, so 567 would be first. 590 would be next. I'm finished with these 2. These both have a 4 in the tens, so I have to go to the ones, and we know that 3 is smaller than 5. So 643 would be next. And then the last one would be 645. And I have ordered these numbers from least to greatest. Now I want to do rainfall in inches. And so the first thing I need to do, these are all decimal numbers. I need to line them up. 0.76, 0.09, 0.63, 0.24. And I want to see which one is the smallest. I'm going from least to greatest again. They all have zeros. We have a 2, 6, 0, and a 9. So my first one is going to be 9 hundredths. So I've used this one. The next one will be 24 hundredths. 6 is smaller than 7, 63 hundredths. And then 76 hundredths. Okay, now I have the height of flowers in inches. If you would like to, you could pause the video and try these on your own, and then come back and make sure that you have the correct answer. So the first thing I need to do is line these up according to place value, and then we're putting them in order from least to greatest. So I'm going to start with 8 and 9/10, 8 and 59 hundredths. I'm going to go ahead and annex a 0. 8 and 705 thousandths. I'm going to annex 0 so that everything stays nice and lined up. 8 and 5 hundredths, and I can also annex a 0. Now we see here they all have 8s. And so now I am looking in the tens, and this is how, what I was telling you, colored pencils would come in nice if you had some. or crayons. And we see that the least in this row is 8 5/100. And then we can see that 8 59/100 would be next. And notice I took the zeros off that I annexed. I went back to my original problem. And then third would be 8 705,000ths. And then last would be 8 9/10. So don't think just because it only has 2 digits that is the smallest number. Because in this case, 8 9/10 only had 2 digits, but it was our largest number.